Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. So today, inshallah, this will be the first of a few series discussing this book that my daughter is currently reading, A Thinking Person's Guide to Islam, written by Prince Ghazi. Sumaya, what do you think of this book so far?
Well, so far it's used quite a lot of big words that I haven't used or needed to use before. But other than that, I found it quite easy to interpret and understand in the way
Right.
he writes it.
So does he explain? I think the first chapter is about religion. So does he explain the purpose of religion? Do you think, as someone who grew up in Australia and you go to a public school, do you think reading the book and at least the first chapter so far about religion, it will help you does it help you understand why we have a religion? And do you think it will help you explain to your friends at school the purpose of religion?
Yeah, it really actually does because it tells us why humanity has always had religion and how even communists and Nazism kind of make their own religion even if they don't want to follow a religion that's already been there for thousands of years.
All right. So now let's just go back to the beginning of the book. The book starts with explaining who the author is. The author, he's an interesting character, don't you think so?
Yeah, because he went to two leading universities in two very different worlds. He went to Al-Azhar and Cambridge University.
Yeah, so he got his PhD from Cambridge and also Al-Azhar. And he's also a prince. Do you know that? He's the cousin to the current king of Jordan. Yeah. Now, I think it's important that a Muslim today, we need to live in we need to understand our tradition, the text, the Quran, the Sunnah, our books that were written by our scholars, the tradition that has been developed over the past 1400 years. But it is also very crucial that we understand the world that we live in today. So I think this is where I find Prince Ghazi a very interesting character because he's got a balance in that sense.
Yeah.
What do you take from the introduction of the book?
Well, the introduction explains more why he wrote the book and the purpose of having to explain what Islam is.
So what's the reason behind him, the motivation behind him writing this book?
That Muslims have to explain what Islam isn't because of what terrorist groups have painted Islam to be.
Yeah, I think that's very true. We tend to explain Islam in a way that, this is not Islam, terrorism is not Islam, Islam is not violent. Yeah, but we don't talk as much about what Islam is. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, we're always just saying this isn't Islam. No, that isn't Islam. But we're not telling them what Islam actually is and what Muslims, who we are and our identity aside from these extremists.
Yeah. Anything else you find interesting in the first chapter?
The first chapter is that it says, the first sentence is, humanity has never been able to exist without religion. I think that just really points out how important religion is to humanity and how we actually need it. And that we just ignoring it isn't going to help us if we need it.
Yeah, because it's really interesting because this humanity needing religion. I just had a discussion with our neighbor at the campsite just now, if you overheard that discussion. And he was just talking about the book that he is reading, that the future is basically pretty much doomed and people are anxious, people are always worried, depressed about the future. Despite having the best time, the lowest mortality rate, the longest life expectancy, yet people are just constantly, the number of people suffering mental health, anxiety, depression is just growing. And he even though he wasn't religious, he was saying that based on what he has read, the data seems to point, multiple research seems to point that people that with religion are just happier because religion in some ways, whether it's right or wrong, but it gives you the answers to the big questions.
Yeah, it points you to where you're going next, and
you know where you came from, who created you.
You know where you're going, you know what you need to do to get where you want to be.
It gives you a life of purpose. Religion gives you a life of purpose. Otherwise, you have to find your own purpose. And this is where a lot of people who threw away religion, they fall into troubles and mental problems in life because they couldn't find their purpose. Religion gives you that. Yeah. So, what else have you found interesting? And
Well, it also says Muslims make up 1/4 of the world. So that means we need to show the other 3/4 of the world what Islam is and show them and kind of break down the image that terrorists have painted and give them what 1/4 of the world is.
Yep. I think 1/4, 25% is a big number.
It is.
Yeah, and for us to live together, we need to understand our religion well so that we can explain it to our friends, to people around us, our schoolmates, colleagues, but what religion is. What does the word religion
Well, the
mean in Arabic?
original meaning is humility, resurrection, and obedience, and it's related to the word for dain.
Yeah, so the word in Arabic, religion is
Deen.
deen, which is closely related to
Dain.
dain, which is debt, because Islam presupposes that humanity owes a debt of gratitude to Allah. In fact, I think I like this ayah, and I discussed this many times in class with you and your friends. The first command in the Quran, according to the order of the Mus'haf, is?
Ayat 21.
Yes, what's ayah 21 of Al-Baqarah?
يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم
Yes.
والذين من قبلكم لعلكم
So
تتقون.
Allah says, Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind, u'budu, worship me, enslave yourself to your master. Why? He created us, created you, and created your ancestors. So being created as a human being is a great blessing from Allah, isn't it? The fact that we exist, we get to experience life and we get to know Allah is a great blessing. And being human, it's another different level of blessing. We get to eat different types of wonderful food, different types of fruits, even fruits that do not exist in Australia. We get to eat durian. Your favorite? No, not so much. You get to eat beautiful fruits. Imagine if Allah created us as cow, dung beetle. What do you get to eat? Yeah, what do you get to see in the environment? It's just that. So Allah says, be grateful. Allah created you. And then the next ayah, He said, Alladhi,
جعل لكم الأرض فراشا
He made us earth for you as firash. What is firash? Firash is? It's a bed. It's a mattress. And a mattress, is it a good mattress? Is it soft or hard?
In between.
In between. If it's too soft, what happens?
It's quite uncomfortable.
You sink in. If it's too hard, it's not comfortable to sleep in. So the earth that God made, it's not too soft that everything just sinks in. It's also not too hard.
Not everything.
You can't build anything, you can't plant anything, you can't cultivate anything. It's in that middle balance, and we get to plant and we get to see all the beautiful things around us, and we get to build buildings. This is a blessing from Allah. Allah could have made everything water, and we couldn't build anything. And then they said, and then was sama'a bina, and sky as bina, as a roof on top of us. And we know now that the sky actually emits harmful rays, and we are only protected because of
the sky and the atmosphere.
The atmosphere around us. And you have also, is it asteroid or meteorite? That one.
It's asteroid. And
asteroid, when it comes into our atmosphere, it becomes a meteor, and then it burns down. If had it not been for our atmosphere, we couldn't have lived. Allah said, this is all, Allah made all of this for us. And then Allah sent down rain, and you see vegetation growing, you get fruits. And then Allah, so the beauty is Allah explains Himself. He doesn't need to, because He is God, He is Almighty. But He explains, because He wants us to be thinking Muslims. He wants us to be, human beings are capable of thinking, and He wants us to use this capacity. So He doesn't just say, pray, worship me because I create, worship me, pray because I'm Almighty. Nah, He gives us the explanation why. And the reason here is a debt of gratitude.
Because He created us, He created the world for us.
Yes.
Atmosphere, the sky.
Exactly. He created everything for us. Be grateful. And the manifestation of gratitude first is you have to be thankful to the person, to the one that gave us. If I gave you something, the first reaction that you like, the first reaction is Thank you. We receive something that we like from Allah. The first reaction is
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. But if you say thank you and then you use it, I gave you a multi-tool. You say thank you, and then you use it to harm your sisters. Will I be happy?
No.
Is that gratitude? No. Alhamdulillah is one. And the next is to use the blessings that Allah has given us in the most beautiful way. And this is what religion will tell us. Religion will teach us on how to use all these blessings in the most beautiful way, how to express our gratitude to Allah. All right, so what is religion all about? What ayah does he use to explain religion?
He uses, truly this is in the former scrolls. Al-A'la
What is that ayah? إن هذا
لفي الصحف الأولى.
إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى. But the explanation is actually here. The reason why Allah or God gave us religion. قد أفلح من
زكاها.
No, قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل
تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا
والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. And what is it? How does he translate it?
Successful indeed is he who purifies himself and mentions the name of his Lord and prays. Nay, but you prefer the life of this world, whereas the hereafter is better and everlasting. Truly this is in the former scrolls, the scrolls of Abraham and Moses. Al-A'la 87:14-19.
So now in this part, he's using this phrase in the this passage in Surah Al-A'la to explain the reason God sent down revelation. And I think he gave how many reasons that God?
He gave 4.
4. And what is it?
Belief in one God, belief in the afterlife, prayer and remembrance of God, and purification of the soul from ego and evil.
All right. And that 4 step means working on
Ourselves.
virtue.
And
Yeah.
virtue.
So when you see the big questions that we want to answer in life is first is where we came from. So the belief of God will answer that God created us. And then the second is hereafter. Where are we going? It answers that question. And then the next one is remembrance of God, pray. Number 4 is
purification of the soul
and virtue. That's the purpose. What are we doing? What are we supposed to do in life?
Yeah, it does.
So it answers that question. It tells us that God created us. He is the creator of everything. And then it tells us that there is life after death. And life after death is very, very important because it gives us perspective in everything that we do. Because if you only believe in God, so He created us. That's all. It will not be a force of good unless you believe in the afterlife. There is ultimate justice, that God knows everything and will reward and punish you accordingly. Otherwise, all legal system essentially will not be able to fully succeed unless you have the spiritual element that people behave because of the law, one thing, but more importantly, because of the hereafter, that God is there and God knows and God will hold you accountable for your actions. And the Quraysh, during the time of the Prophet, did they believe in God?
They did, but they ascribed partners too.
They believe in Allah, but they gave partners to Allah. But they also do not believe in the hereafter. They kept asking, like, are you sure that after we turn to bones and dust, we're going to be resurrected? And that is why, despite their belief in God, they were evil. They cheated. They abused the poor. They oppressed women. They killed baby girls, despite believing in God. So believing in God alone will answers one part of our innate need, the philosophical questions, but that alone is not enough to make us a good person, to make the community become a good community. You need the belief in the hereafter. The belief in the hereafter will tell you, like, yep, whatever you do in this world, there will be consequences in the hereafter.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you don't have that ultimate justice in the end, if you're rich and powerful, they can basically do anything.
Exactly, yeah.
They can pay people out.
Yep.
So you need the ultimate justice in the end to stop you from doing those things.
Yep. And finally, he said that it is. So the first part is just internals. You're not doing anything. It's just belief, knowing, and the second part is you have to do something.
Yeah.
The second part is you have to make dhikr of Allah,
And make
and the highest form of dhikr is
prayer.
prayer. So our life revolves around remembrance of Allah, being connected to Allah. It's not just in prayer, that's the highest form of dhikr. And we see that the Prophet, when he's tired, he find rest in prayers. Even Prophet Zakaria, we studied Surah Ali Imran in Ramadan. When the angels came, what was he doing? He was قائم يصلي في المحراب. He was standing praying in his mihrab, in his prayer niche. Maryam was also always praying. So that element of prayer, being connected, is very important as a Muslim. But remembrance of Allah is not just on our prayer mat. Allah says, الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِم. People who remember Allah while they are standing up, sitting down and lying on their sides. وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And thinking about the creation. Now we are out in the bush, beautiful by the river. If we're just amazed by the river and we stop there, then we have missed an important point. We should connect this to
Allah's immense creation and Allah's immense power.
exactly Allah's creation. The beauty in Allah's creation reminds us of the greatness of the Creator. Just like when we were in a cafe yesterday and they had some artwork, didn't they? And we looked at the artwork. Some of them were pretty.
Yeah.
Yes, after appreciating the beauty of the artwork, what do we think next? Who's the artist?
Yeah.
Like, must be a brilliant person to be able to draw such beautiful artwork. That is a natural process, the way we think. So when we look at the universe and we see it's beautiful and we stop there, they must have been existed all the while. It's why do you stop at the universe and not go to the creator of the universe? But then you do not do that with artwork. You look at a beautiful artwork, you want to see like, who made this? You see all this, you say, no one made this. It doesn't make sense. Imagine if we went to the cafe yesterday, we saw this beautiful artwork, and then who was it that asked? I think, was it Sakina or was it you asked, who made this? And then if I were to say that it was just there from the beginning, no one made it.
It wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't make sense. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense for a simple artwork, but it suddenly makes sense when it comes to the universe. So that is why, again, believing in Allah, believing in the hereafter, that alone is not enough. Religion tells us we need to remember Him. We need to be connected to Him. And Allah tells us connected in everything that we do. Everything we see reminds us of Allah. But prayer is, what do you call that? It's a very personal ibadah, isn't it? When you read Quran, you do your prayer, it doesn't necessarily directly impact the society, impact the community. You're praying, it doesn't make you don't make your sister happy.
No, it doesn't.
No, but if you go and help your sister do some of her chores, that will make her happy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's also a form of ibadah in Islam. But in order to do that, it requires a bit of purification of the soul, because helping others is not really that fun.
Yeah.
Isn't it? After helping and you see the happiness in that person, it's fun.
But during the helping.
During the helping, before the helping, to push yourself to helping, it requires purification, getting our nerves under control. And this is also what religion provides. It provides a way to remember Allah, to connect to Allah, but also how to be a force of good in its truest sense. That we're not doing this because this person can do something in return for us. That we don't do good because he can help us later. We want to call in a favor later. We do good because we believe in the hereafter. There is something that is waiting for us in the hereafter. So in summary, this first chapter, it's not talking about Islam yet, isn't it? It's just talking about the purpose of religion, because it says that this is not just in Islam. Inna hadha la fi suhufil ula. It's in the previous scriptures. That means since the time of Suhufi Ibrahim wa Musa, at least since the time of Ibrahim, Musa, and because Musa until Isa, they all read the same scriptures, isn't it? They all just add on. You've got the Torah of Musa, the Zabur of Dawood, the Injil of Isa. It's just add on to the same
message.
Same message. Yeah. So we know at least from Prophet Ibrahim all the way to Prophet Muhammad, the message has been the same. The purpose of religion, there are 4 things, and they are: number 1,
to believe in one God, believe in the afterlife, prayer and remembrance of God, and purification of the soul from ego and evil.
Yep. So purifying the soul from our ego, this is our evil nafs, and also from evil, so that we can develop virtue in ourselves. And if everybody does this, we will see a beautiful world. And this is why Allah says, "Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara." Protect yourself and your family from the fire. We protect ourselves, we protect our family, and we slowly the community around us. But we have to start with ourselves. Practice the religion, all these 4 elements of our religion within ourselves, and then our family. If everybody were to do this, we will see a much more beautiful world.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all for chapter 1. How do you find the chapter 1?
It really does explain religion and why we should worship Allah in that sense that He created us. He actually.
How many pages is chapter 1?
3.
It's just 3 pages, but the content is just so powerful, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, so follow us, inshallah, as we discuss chapter 2. What is chapter 2 about?
What is Islam?
Inshallah, next video will be chapter 2. What is Islam? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.